Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, so today's just going to be a bit different. For various reasons, I'm not recording in my normal studio and therefore will not be as boisterous as I usually am. And actually, many of you might appreciate that, so yeah, there's that. Also, for various other reasons, I'm going to have to make these episodes today quite a bit quicker than I usually do. So they might not be as in-depth as previous quick takes, and actually there's going to be a lot of previews coming out today, so I'm going to try my best to keep up and to do these as well as I can. Regardless, as always, thanks for your understanding, and thanks for putting up with me, and let's jump into the episode. So in this brand new set, Dungeons & Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which yes, takes a while to say, I really need a short version of that. Anyways, there is a new type of card that was just introduced with classes. We can see the very first class card introduced here with Barbarian Class. It's an enchantment for red, and at the bottom you can see it says enchantment-class, so yeah, new subtype of enchantment. Now, I'm actually not sure, and I haven't read anywhere yet to see if this is actually going to be just an enchantment subclass or if it's going to be on artifacts, etc., but yeah, for now, this is what we've got. Anyways, at the top, it says, gain the next level as a sorcery to add its ability. So it looks like it starts off at level 1. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus 1 and ignore the lowest roll. By paying 1 in a red, again at sorcery speed, you can go up to level 2, which says whenever you roll 1 or more dice, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains menace until end of turn. And if you're at level 2, you can pay 2 in a red to jump to level 3, which says creatures you control have haste. So, though this enchantment only costs 1 mana to start, you can pay 2 more to get to level 2, and then you can pay 3 more for a total of 6 mana to get to level 3. So before we jump into actually kind of what this card does and, what kinds of decks it might be good in, let's just talk about the obvious comparisons first to the new class card. Obviously, when it comes to design and look, the first one that comes to mind are going to be sagas. Sagas are also a subtype of enchantment, and they look like this one, the Flame of Keld. So, as you can see, it's kind of a different type of magic card where basically the text of the card is on the left and the picture's on the right, and it looks like with classes that's going to be the opposite, so it's probably easier to identify. Regardless, with sagas you get a lore counter on it when it comes into play, and then 1 after your draw step, and then it just keeps doing different things depending on how many lore counters are on it. So with the Flame of Keld as an example, with the first lore counter you're going to discard your hand, at the second it's going to be drawing 2 cards, and at the third it says if a red source you control will deal damage to a permanent or player this turn, it deals that much damage +2 to that permanent or player instead. So like our new class card, this is an enchantment that does do different things, however the class card is going to be more so adding new things to it versus doing a completely separate thing. Also with sagas, after you get that third lore counter, you sacrifice it, so it's gone. Versus the new class card, the more mana that you pay into it, the more that it does, and it's going to be sticking around. Now obviously we've only seen one class card so far, so that might be a generalization, and it might not actually be true for all of them, but I'm thinking it might be. Now the other kind of comparison mechanic that class cards remind me of are the level up mechanic, which we see here on Enclave Cryptologist. This is actually a mechanic from quite some time ago, and it's a fan favorite to many. So let's just go through this card to talk about the mechanic and the similarities to class. Enclave Cryptologist starts off as a 0/1 Merfolk Wizard that has level up for 1 in a blue. So essentially you can pay 1 in a blue to put a level counter on this, but you can only level up as a sorcery. When this is at level 1 or 2, you can tap it to draw a card and then discard a card, and its power toughness are going to remain the same. And then once you get it to level 3 or above, it's still going to be a 0/1, but you can tap to draw a card. So essentially, this card becomes more effective the higher a level it gets. Now, to my knowledge, the level up mechanic was only seen on creatures, but there were different implementations on how it actually worked on those creatures. The further you leveled up, some would increase in power or toughness, or some would gain new abilities, etc. And again, as actually shown on this card, some had a range of levels. Whether Enclave Cryptologist is at level 1 or 2, it doesn't make a difference because it has the exact same effect. It's still going to be a 0/1 that can tap to draw a card, then discard a card, and that doesn't change until you get to level 3 or above. This is obviously different than when we look at class, where it just has 3 levels in total, and you just increase every single time. At least with this initial class card, it doesn't seem like we're going to have a range of levels that we have to actually get to. It's just 1 level to the next, and then to the next, and then you're done. Now, will we see one that just has 2 levels or 4 levels? I'm not sure. Now, I'm actually a big fan of the level up mechanic, and I really like this first iteration of class that I'm seeing. Being able to get something like this down early and then make it more effective later on in the game can be a really impactful thing. When you've got extra mana to spend later, you can increase the effectiveness of this card. Now my only gripe with this, as well as other level up cards, that you can only do this as sorcery speed, but I kind of understand that. They want you to have to commit to actually level this card up rather than just be able to, save your mana, and then if you don't need it before your turn, instead of using an instant, you can just, level up. So it is more of a commitment to actually get those benefits because, again, you do have to do that at sorcery speed. So overall, my initial impressions of the class mechanic are actually really positive. And for D&D fans out there like myself, I'm sure you can enjoy the flavor as well. But now that I've talked about classes in general, let's talk about this card individually. More so specifically, how good is this class and how good might other classes be? So obviously with this class dealing with rolling dice, this is going to be a really specific card to certain decks. At just 1 mana getting this down, yes, this can have a big impact and help you improve your dice rolls. On top of that, just by investing 2 mana in this, at level 2, you get a benefit whenever you roll 1 or more dice. So you get this down early, invest a little bit into it, and now your dice rolls become a lot more effective. And then when you actually have time to invest 3 more mana into that, giving all your creatures haste can be pretty fantastic. Now it costs you 6 mana in total to get there, but again, if you've got a deck that does revolve around rolling dice, this can help you out along the way with that, and then also help you out in a big way by giving all your creatures haste. Now unfortunately, when it comes to rolling dice up to this point, really this is actually the only set where we see dice rolling, outside of unsets. Now that very well might change in the future, but that's yet to be seen. Regardless, we do have some commanders so far that are in this set that are in red that can utilize this card. First up, there's Lena Wild Mage, a 3/2 elf shaman that costs 3 in a red. She has whenever she attacks, choose target creature you control, then roll a d20. If you roll a 1 to 14, you create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary and it has exile this creature at the end of combat. If you roll between a 15 and a 20, you create one of those tokens and then you roll again. So with this commander, you've got the potential to make multiple tokens of the exact same creature that are going to be attacking. The more 15 through 20s that you roll, the better. So obviously Barbarian Class can really help you out by just getting this out essentially on turn 1 and then helping all your rolls throughout the game. Just with that 1 card in play, you essentially double the chances that you're going to roll between that 15 and 20. On top of that, simply by investing 2 more mana into Barbarian Class, that's going to help out a lot as well. Obviously you want to protect Alina during combat, so giving her +2/+0 and Menace can be huge. And then obviously if you keep rolling, you can keep giving your creatures +2/+0 and Menace, and that can be very effective. And of course, on top of that, giving all your creatures haste can help you attack not only with Delina right away if she gets dealt with, or with any of your other creatures that are going to be coming into play. The other commander that we've seen so far that can utilize this is Farida Devil Chosen. She's a 3/3 Tiefling Warlock that costs 2 blue-red. She has Dark One's Own Luck. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, Farida Devil Chosen gains Menace and Flying until end of turn. If any of those dice results is 10 or more, draw a card. So obviously getting out your class card early can really help you out those dice rolls. No matter what, Farida's already going to get Menace and Flying, but now when you roll, you're also going to double up your chance that you're going to draw a card, and on top of that, if you've leveled it up, you can also pump her too. Or pump another one of your creatures and give that creature Menace since she already has Menace. And obviously, again, like I mentioned before, giving your entire team haste can really make an impact throughout the game as well. We are seeing more and more cards that deal with rolling dice, including the Deck of Many Things, which is a really funny, janky alternative win condition. If you haven't seen that episode yet, make sure you check it out to see what that one does. But yeah, seeing as we're only seeing rolling dice in this set, Barbarian Class itself is not really going to see all that much play outside of commanders that are specifically from this set that deal with rolling dice. Now that might change in the future if more and more sets deal with rolling dice, so we'll see. And if I had to guess in the future, I bet there's going to be sets that deal with just rolling a 6-sided die instead of just a d20, but I could be wrong about that as well. Regardless, at the end of the day, a class card like Barbarian Class is a lot of things all in one small package. I mean, it's somewhat like a Pixie Guide with Hazoret's Favor and Fervor kind of attached to it once you've leveled it up. Pixie Guide is a new card that says if you would roll 1 or more dice instead, roll that many dice +1 and ignore the lowest roll. So essentially the exact same thing as our first level on Barbarian Class. Hazoret's Favor says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have target creature you control get +2/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. If you do, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Yeah, okay, I know that this isn't a perfect comparison, but it's the closest one that I kind of thought of. Anyways, bear with me, just an enchantment that can essentially pump and help out with combat. And of course, the last card this reminded me of was Fervor, which is basically an enchantment that says creatures you control have haste, and yeah, there are other enchantments that do this as well. So again, it's kind of like all those things in one small package. Obviously, you've got to invest more mana into it to actually increase its power throughout the game, but when you do, you're going to get a lot of value out of this 1 mana card. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with how this card turned out, and I'm really excited to see more classes in the future. But with that, this episode's wrapping up, so it's my turn to hear from you. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on Barbarian Class specifically, and about classes in general. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.